Why, hello, guys, and welcome to the fourth episode of the podcast. So, this will be the permanent setup of the podcast. This will be because last week it was the same setup. It was just that I had the camera turned towards me. Next week I actually have news. I'm having my first guest on next week, and I cannot wait for you guys to listen and watch that episode. Well, any of these episodes. I put a lot of time and effort in. So, yes. And today's topic is going to be first jobs. So, I'm going to be talking about the first jobs that I've ever had. Right now, I'm actually on my third job. And yeah. So oh my god, I have so much stories. Like if you've watched the videos on my YouTube channel, then you would know that I have stories from Dunkin'. There's also stories from my second job and stories from my third job. So, let's start off with my first job. Many of you guys already know I started at Dunkin'. There were two locations I was at. One across from my job now, and one that was closer to I lived in between both of the locations, so they would just move me back and forth. There were times that I just was like, you know what? No. There were many times I was just like, you know what? No. And I think that the main reason why I left was because of the drive-through guests. Like, they were super impatient. Like, I get it, you're going through the drive-through, but if you see that there's a long-ass line, why the fuck are you gonna go through the drive-through? Like, common sense, come inside, there's not really gonna be a line. Unless it's a dead-ass morning, then that's a whole nother story. Like, the first location that I worked at, it was always super busy. There really wasn't I mean, everybody there was super nice, like in the morning, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. It was the ones at night that were a big deal. So, when I first started there, I mean, before I even started there, the manager said, "Oh, we threw out your application." Excuse me? You threw out my application? My mom ended up having to contact one of our friends that works there, who's sisters of the manager, so that's why I had applied. And the sister ended up talking to the manager and just telling me to come in. And where, like, the first day, like, I caught on, like, with the drinks, like, super fast, like, boom, 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 done, done, done. But then it was when they moved me to the register. Oh my god, that whole entire thing was a mess. That was like, I want to say the second week. Like, I caught on to the drinks like super quickly, so they moved me to the register. Where, yeah, I didn't catch on that fast. I was just like they were telling me their order, and I was just like, what? Give me one moment to try to find that real quick. Da 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 da. I was getting so frustrated that I ended up yelling at one of my coworkers, like, that who was trying to ask me a question of what it meant, of like one of the orders I put in what meant. Yeah, that was not a very great day. I ended up leaving there got into the car and started tearing up and telling my mom, I think they're gonna fire me. But I ended up being there for 2 years. They really loved me. To be honest, they loved me. They understood that I had school, so they were able to like move my availability around. I mean, so I was able to change my availability and let them. All I had to do was let them know that my availability was changed and that I could only work specific days because again I had school. And I had started when I was in high school, so yeah, that was still a lot. I was literally working. Had National Honor Society, Science Honor Society, SECME, which is a science program, science club, FFEA, which is Florida Future Educators of America, and then I still had the academy that I was in, which is biotech, and still somehow found time to get the community service hours for both of the honor societies, Science Honor Society and National Honor Society. Graduated with a 3.2 GPA. Still had time to work. And like I literally would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to catch the bus by around 6. Then I would get off of the bus by my house, and my mom would take me to work, and I would get there by 4 when I'd have to start working. It was crazy, but I made it work. There were times that they would call me in on Thursday, so I'd have to leave some of the clubs that I was in. Um, but other than that, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I somehow was able, like, in my head, I knew that I could do it all. So I think that mentality also moved over to the mentality that I have now where I still work. I have school. I have my YouTube channel. And I have this podcast. And right now I just started a new project, which honestly has been in the works for so long. Like I, in a way, started it in high school. But yeah, that mentality of still working, I guess, still moved on to the mentality that I have now. But back to all of the stories from Duncan, I literally, oh my god, you guys literally watch an in-depth story time of some of these stories. Oh my god, like I almost had a ladder fall on my head and knock me out. Like had I been there a second earlier, I probably would not be here today. Might not have the same mentality. Things might be definitely different. Um really, yeah. There was a time where um not the first location, but everything for some reason happened at the second location that I was working at. There is a time where okay, so I picked up this shift. Little did I know that later on in that week I wasn't going to be feeling good. Like how the fuck am I supposed to know? Like I knew that the girl that didn't want to work that day, so I picked up her shift. Like, okay, yeah, whatever. But how the fuck was I supposed to know that I wasn't gonna feel good? So my mom took me to the doctor, the walk-in clinic, where they gave me antibiotics and everything. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I took them that day, some of them, the pills that day. And I went to work. it was, I want to say, Christmas Eve, where we closed early. One, I wasn't feeling good, so I kept going back and forth to the bathroom and everything. And it was so busy that I wasn't able to eat, so my stomach, it was just made everything worse because you're supposed to eat with the pills, and all I had that day was a bagel. Because I literally got home from the walk-in clinic, had to take my medication, and then I literally had to go to work. Like, it was done. And so I literally kept telling people at around 8 o'clock, the ones that came through the drive-thru, sorry, we're closed. The person in front of you was the last person. We can't take any more orders. And they didn't give two shits. Like, they literally kept coming in. And so that literally, like, I really wasn't feeling good. I literally had to tell my coworker, hey, I have to leave. She literally saw my face, like, I was pale. So there wasn't really anything that we could do for me. Like, people just kept coming in. We literally had all of our side work done, so that was a plus. And so I left, and literally the next day I got bitched out by my manager for leaving and not letting her know that I wasn't feeling good. And then my coworker got bitched out by the girl whose shift I picked up because I picked it up and went to work sick. How the fuck was I supposed to know that I wasn't going to feel good? It was a week, like, earlier in that week. There's no way in hell that I was going to know that I wasn't going to feel good. Like, there's times that I'll literally throw up. And then the following day, I'm just like, my body aches and everything. Like, ma'am, how the fuck was I supposed to know that I wasn't going to feel good? I picked up your shift. I wouldn't have picked up your shift if I wasn't feeling good then. But then there was a time where they literally called me in at 8 o'clock. I was in bed. Like, I was about to go to sleep. Because I had school the next day. And they call, and guys want to call me and tell me that I have to go in and close the store. Well, lock up for the store because the closers don't have a key. Yeah. I guess it's time that you guys give them the key. Because this shit is bullshit, and I know that you guys aren't gonna fucking pay me to go in and waste my time. Like, come on. Yeah, you guys paid us for the meetings. Actually, I don't even know if you guys paid us for the meetings that we went to that were mandatory. But if you guys want more stories for Duffy's, go check out my channel. I think I had another story that I can't remember, but now on to the restaurant that I worked at. There were two locations for that also. The main location that I'd always work at, and then the location that I was sent to cover when the main location had two dishwashers. Oh my god, this shit was bullshit. Like, it was Hurricane Irma, and I was dishwashing because, like, I was in there because I offered. Like, I was dishwashing, bussing, host, running food. Like, come on, guys. You see I'm busting my ass, and you want to move me to dishwashing because, oh, you did a great job dishwashing, but then when my mom wants to go and talk to you about moving me elsewhere, because that's bullshit, the manager's just like, oh yeah, we'll move him. Oh, but then you wanted to go and tell her, oh, he's better off in the back because he can't focus in the front. Excuse you? Every server saw me busting my ass there. Every fucking server. The freaking bar would literally tip me, like give me like $5 because I would bring their bus tub to the back. Can't focus. Bitch, please. But yeah, it was Hurricane Irma that they moved me to the back, and I would literally be sent to the other location if we had two dishwashers because the dishwasher at the other location didn't show up. Well, it sounds like a you problem. Yeah, I'm nice, so I'll go, but it sounds like a you problem. Like, this shit's bullshit, and I'm just sick and tired of being treated like I'm a piece of shit. But there was a time where the old cook left out a box of chicken wings out. Like, that box was left out of the fridge and it was no longer good. So, I sure as hell hope that you guys didn't use those. Like, I left them out that night. I don't care. I'm gonna leave them out that night when I leave for dishwashing. Like, fuck y'all. And the reason why I left was because that environment was toxic. Like, the freaking people would send back food, or actually no, it was when I was moved to a to-go host that I realized that work environment was toxic. Guests would literally be come back and call, especially the delivery ones. The deliveries would just be, oh, well, why was my order canceled? Or you guys sent me the wrong order. You guys need to give me a recharge. No, ma'am. Or, sorry, sir. We don't give refunds with delivery orders. You'd have to call the delivery service to get your refund. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Yeah, that's... Just to let you guys know, that's how the restaurant business is. We don't give two shits. Once the delivery person gets your food, or if you order delivery, we don't give you your refund. That money, like the delivery service still has to pay the restaurant that money. But other than that, nope. The people that would come in, like, oh my god, there would be my regulars that would come in and tip me so much. I love them, I would take care of them, so on and so forth. But I got bitched out by the manager for taking a table outside for one of my regulars. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up and let me make some money. Like, you guys are literally holding me back, like, not moving me to be a server when you know that I can be a fucking server. And, like, I'm just done. Like, that whole, like, the management was toxic. Everything was toxic, especially when we get busy. I just had, like, was done. Like, I literally was working two jobs towards the end. After COVID started dying down, I literally decided, you know what, let me go back to school. So I decided to leave the restaurant and still work at Target because I was working two jobs then. Target is just a whole nother story in and of itself. But, like, I swear, that, like, I'm working there now, so I'm not going to really tell it that many stories. And it's coming towards the end of the podcast episode. So, I will say this. When I first started working there, it was around April when COVID started dying down. When COVID first started, the restaurant that I worked at was shut down. And so they postponed my training. Like, I got a day's worth of training on the register, and I learned the register so fast that they trained me at self checkout as well. And so that was my only day of training. And then they postponed it to the following month. And I decided, you know what, let me go back to the working at the restaurant, whatever. But yeah, that's really the only story that I'm going to say of Target. I hope you guys like this episode of the podcast. I was going to look up some statistics, but it's towards the end of the podcast. I told you a lot of stories from my first jobs. So, if you guys are wondering, leave your story at 561-320-7085 or DM the podcast account on Instagram at First Chances with Chance. And that also has all the links for you to listen to the podcast. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. And I will have a guest next episode. So stay tuned.